On this episode of Mythbusters, the Hyneman and Captain Redbeard take a swing at a pirate movie myth.
It's another remote control rig for making Jamie dance.
Knock yourself out, buddy.
Imprisoned inside a bone cage, can you swing across a ravine
I think I'm gonna throw up.
Uh-oh.
and climb to safety?
Drat!
Meanwhile, Carrie, Tori, and Grant roll out the mythical barrel,
Gives a whole new meaning to fire in the hole, doesn't it?
testing the urban legend that a drum, methanol, and a flame could send a barrel ballistic
That thing might explode!
and turn a go-kart turbo. Who are the Mythbusters? Adam Savage
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
and Jamie Hyneman.
We're gonna have an adventure.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Together with Tori Belleci,
Let's torch this thing!
Grant Imahara,
Save yourselves!
and Carrie Byron.
Best job ever!
Yeah!
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. First up, Adam and Jamie get savvy with a movie myth.
Great. Pirates again.
Yes, pirates. What could be the matter with that?
Well, what's the story?
All right, the story we're doing this time comes from Pirates of the Caribbean 2. There's this sequence in which our heroes are imprisoned in a cage. It's sort of like a hamster ball made of bones that's hanging in a ravine. It's quite similar to this toy, released in conjunction with the film. At any rate, they start using their body weight to swing this bone cage over to the side of the cliff and catch onto it, holding onto the vines. Then they're able to climb the cliff using the vines and engineer their escape. That's what we've got to do.
You're not gonna be using that pirate voice the whole time, are you?
I don't have to, but I like to. Some of the time, at least.
By rattling their cage, this band of buccaneers swings to the cliff. But do the filmic physics check out? Could you really create enough momentum to swing high and then peg-leg it up a precipice?
So what's the plan?
Well, everything about this story involves the bone cage, so I think we need to start there. And it's got to be pretty strong because in the movie it's holding up to 6 people, and I think we should plan for that.
And it's gotta be really light because we're gonna have to haul it up a cliff.
Exactly, and it should look like bones. I think we can achieve that.
Let's go downstairs and build it.
All right.
Ultimately, the Mythbusters will be incarcerated inside a bone cage.
Right, Jamie, I'm ready for testing.
Whoa!
But first, they've got to create it.
All right, so how are we going to do this thing?
They need a design light enough to swing, but strong enough to hold a band of pirates.
What about if we started with a pumpkin-like kind of way of building it and then build it up from there to a certain point?
A pumpkin-inspired steel frame should make the cage sturdy.
So if this is 6 adults, let's say 200 pounds each, when this is all said and done, I'm thinking we're looking at a total payload here of about 1,500 pounds.
Yeah.
And to trim the payload, the guys take the dimensions down to a tight squeeze of 8 feet.
All right, cool. This is a good plan.
That's their bone cage blueprint. So now to get the ball rolling.
Like butter.
Like butter.
There you go. Ta-da! That is beautiful.
105.
Great.
8 struts are bent and welded together to form a giant pumpkin-like globe.
This is our sphere, or at least it will be. And right now it's kind of flimsy, but by the time we're done with it, we're gonna triangulate all over the place and it'll be kind of like a organic geodesic dome, and it should be quite sturdy.
Yep, the lattice work of steel supports is welded into place to strengthen the ball. And although it looks simple, it's engineered to ensure that failure is not an option.
We've gone with this construction method, the lightweight thin wall steel tube and washers at every apex, to make this thing super strong because we're going to hang 6 people in it. But we also want it to be as light as possible. We've got to try and walk it up the wall at the end. When I'm evil overlord, I will certainly keep my prisoners in something just like this. And I think we've done it. But to make sure, we're going to hang it from the ceiling. Jamie and I are going to get inside of it and see how we feel. We're also going to try and swing it and see if that's remotely possible.
Like a steampunk Cinderella, Adam needs to test out his giant pumpkin before the pirate ball.
Whoa! Oh, holy crap. Yeah, all right, come on in.
This is a crucial proof of concept,
Well, it certainly seems like it's supporting us.
and it's so far so good.
And back.
So now, will it swing?
Out. And back. And out. It's swinging.
Yeah.
Hey, it's working.
Surprisingly, getting the cage to move appears to be child's play.
This is like my dream jungle gym when I was 10 years old.
But will it be this easy when they take it full scale?
This isn't bad. Well, Jamie and I have run our bone cage through enough paces where we're really confident in it from a mechanical and safety standpoint. Now the only question is, it doesn't quite look like a bone cage. So now we're gonna do a little aestheticizing of it.
Seems like we're spending a lot of time pulling tape off of rolls these days.
And it's gonna give us some padding so we're not beating our hands against the steel.
And once the cage is padded, it's time to bone up. The skulls and crossbones give it that cinematic, cannibalistic feel.
Yeah, man, that tells the story.
Yeah.
And before long, the cage is fit for a pirate.
It's done?
It's done.
Can we get it out of here?
Sure.
Now to get to the bottom of a ballistic barrel.
Okay, so I've got a myth about oil drums, go-karts, and jet fuel.
Geez, sounds like a recipe for disaster to me.
Pretty much. Okay, this is a myth that comes from some of our European fans. Apparently, this guy was watching a video about whoosh rockets on the internet.
Oh yeah, those are those things where instead of using water pressure for thrust, they use jet fuel, right?
Yeah, well, this guy was watching something like you described, but he decided he was gonna take it up a notch by using a 55-gallon oil drum, strapping it to a go-kart, and adding jet fuel.
And don't tell me. He jumps on, lights it, and goes for the ride of his life.
At crazy speeds.
Well, if this works, I say we all go for a ride, huh?
Of course you do.
The details of this urban myth are surprisingly precise. 4 gallons of methanol inside a 55-gallon drum plus a flame. And you'll get the rocket ride of your life. But is a breakneck barrel run realistic, or is this all hot air?
All right, on the surface, this sounds pretty straightforward to test. We take a go-kart, strap a 55-gallon drum to it, fill it with fuel, jump on it, light it, and go.
Or we don't jump on it, we light it remotely, and we stand really far back.
Yeah, that's probably safer.
Now, it's not all that outlandish to think that someone would supersize this concept into a full-size barrel, because the whoosh rocket is a fairly common science demonstration. Let me show you. Take your methanol, agitate, and ignite. Just like that. What happens is that you ignite the vapor inside of the bottle, those expanding gases push out of the nozzle, that creates thrust, and it sends you right across the parking lot.
But the question is, if you supersize those ingredients, will you get the crazy speeds of the myth?
Okay, yeah, it rolls. This'll work.
This is gonna be awesome.
To get the drum rolling, it's off to location.
A jet go-kart with methanol. I love it.
We've come out to the Alameda County Sheriff's Bomb Range so that we can test our methanol go-kart, which basically requires a 55-gallon drum,
So it rolls.
fashioned like a go-kart, and powered with 4 gallons of methanol as per the myth. I'm really curious to see if this is gonna shoot down the road or possibly just blow up into a million pieces.
Don't worry, this ain't gonna hurt a bit.
With a risk-taking rider strapped on, it's time to add the mythical methanol to the mix.
All right, that's 4 gallons. Let's agitate it a little bit.
Just like the mini whoosh rocket, the fuel needs a nudge.
Looks like you've done this before.
Agitate? Yeah.
To create a potentially explosive mix with the air.
Go.
Finally, Grant fits a flare to a remote control car to trigger ignition and possibly send the barrel rocketing.
All right, here we go. This is barrel go-kart. In 3, 2, 1. have achieved the hole. The fire is in the hole.
It doesn't look like it's going in the hole.
Ignition.
Fire in the hole!
I think it's in the hole there.
Yeah.
Unlike the Myth, the flare doesn't ignite the fuel, and the cart goes nowhere.
That was anticlimactic.
Anticlimactic is an understatement.
The car may be on fire.
But if at first you don't succeed,
Maybe the guy in the Myth just got lucky and had the right air to fuel ratio, so that way when he did introduce the flame, it took off flying.
There you go.
So we're gonna reset. This time we're gonna agitate the barrel a little bit longer, and we're gonna put the flare inside the barrel. Gives a whole new meaning to fire in the hole, doesn't it? Hopefully this time we'll get enough thrust and this thing gets fired up.
in theory, more agitation should mean a more explosive mix of fuel and air. But will it get them a rocket barrel?
Fire in the hole in 3, 2, 1. Hey!
There's a little bit of
No, it's still going. It's still going. Push the barrel out, and it actually ran up the road a little.
It's not going to beat any land speed records. But the team has not even scraped the bottom of this ballistic barrel.
You know what I'd like to see now? I think we should take this to small scale and find out if we have the perfect amount of fuel. Maybe less, maybe more, if we could actually get enough thrust to make the go-kart go.
All right, so back to the shop.
Back to the shop.
At the end of their rope, 6 scurvy dogs sway themselves to freedom. But is this daring filmic feat a swing and a myth? To find out, Adam and Jamie have picked their bones. So now to get them suspended.
If we're going to test this ball of bones swing from Pirates of the Caribbean, we're going to need a big cliff.
Found one!
That ought to do.
I'm standing in the fire training tower of the Santa Rosa Fire Department. This is a building they repeatedly set on fire and then put out. It's 75 feet tall, and it makes a perfect configurable cliff face for our swinging bone cage experiments.
It's the perfect cliff face, and coupled with a 40-ton crane, the Mythbusters can replicate the dimensions of the movie.
From our analysis of the footage we can see in the film, we've determined that the bone cage is hanging from a rope that's 80 feet long, and that's what we've set up.
When the ball meets the cliff, the angle of its cable will be about 25 degrees.
Take those two numbers, 25 degrees and 80 feet, plug them into Pythagoras' theorem, and you come up with a distance from the wall of 34 feet. That is how far we are, and that's how far we've got to swing.
With 34 feet their target distance, it's time to get into the swing of things.
What's next?
Well, this is about pirates, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't see any pirate costume.
Oh, ye of little faith. Give me a second.
Right, Xavier, I'm ready for testing.
What, no gold teeth?
Ah, crap, I forgot about that part.
Right, let's get in.
Okay.
Captain Redbeard is keen,
Right, here I go.
which is surprising when you consider what gentle rocking usually does to him.
Now, when we're swinging to and fro in the ball, I don't expect that I'll get seasick, but I've been wrong before.
No, we gotta stop. I hate this chair.
This may be another one.
Possibly, but only time will tell.
It's much more fun when you're wearing a proper outfit.
Well, you wanna try your swing thing like we did in the shop with just our legs dangling through?
Yeah.
All right,
Ready?
yeah,
Okay.
so.
Freshly imprisoned, the scurvy dogs try to strike up some momentum.
This is without a doubt the strangest dance we've ever done.
By moving back and forth, they should create enough push to get to the wall.
Come on.
Come on.
But unlike their success in the shop, they're not budging.
I have an idea.
So they change tactics to the standing swing.
Whoa.
I almost lost me hat. That would have been ugly.
Grab my arm like this. Now, what if I went like this, and then you came like that and let go over there?
In theory, to get the bone cage swinging, Adam and Jamie need to raise and lower the center of gravity of the ball by using their own mass.
Come on. We don't seem to be moving at all.
Well, we're pushing in the right direction.
It's not working.
However, so far, no matter how they throw their weight around, it's it's not enough to get a significant swing. Adam even tries thinking outside the cage.
That's more promising.
But cheating still doesn't get the ball right.
I'm not sure, Jamie. We seem to have a lot more luck in the shop than we are here, and I thought it'd be easier on the longer arm.
Yeah, it seems like it might actually be harder.
It does.
And the lack of swing isn't the only problem.
I think I'm gonna throw up.
Uh-oh.
I'm having a kind of a powerful, nauseous reaction.
Well, why don't you hop out?
Yeah.
With Adam benched from ball cage duty, it's over to Jamie to swing solo.
Well, Adam threw in the towel. He got a little seasick, I guess. So I'm gonna see if I can do anything by myself. The idea being that if you remove the variables, maybe you can figure out what actually makes this thing work. Adam being a variable, which he usually is.
And although Jamie experiments with a variety of techniques, the problem remains the same.
I don't seem to be having a lot of luck getting this thing to swing from a dead stop, but then it weighs more than I do, so maybe the problem is that there's not enough mass moving around to dominate what it does. In the movie, after all, they had a number of people doing this, and so maybe that's what we need to do.
Maybe, because although the dimensions match the movie, their mass doesn't.
What's next?
Next is more bodies.
More bodies! More bodies!
Inspired by the internet, supposedly this drum daredevil filled his barrel go-kart with fuel, lit a match, and took off at incredible speeds. But so far, getting that rocket-powered rush
That's kind of anticlimactic.
hasn't been that easy. So the Mythbusters have come back to the shop to replicate the barrel rodeo in small scale and test the parameters one by one.
Yeehaw!
Starting with fuel. How much methanol gets optimal thrust?
Let's agitate it a little bit.
First off, they're trying the same ratio as the Myth, 7%.
Fully agitated, ready to light.
This is totally how I played with dolls.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
We got some thrust.
Just like the range test, 7% didn't send the cart far. But will halving the fuel change that?
All right, 3.5%. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Ooh.
We got about the same.
I know, not much difference.
3.5% gives them the same result, so they take the fuel ratio all the way down.
Now, in the past, when we've used gases to create some sort of thrust, like a propane rocket, we found that once we got down to just fumes and used just a little bit of fuel, we actually got a lot of thrust. So I expect the less fuel we use, the more fumes, and we're actually gonna see this rocket shoot down the track.
Next, we're gonna go down to 0.1%, so that's almost all vapor. My expectation, it's gonna shoot down the track. I don't know how far, but it should be pretty good.
In 3, 2, 1.
Oh. All right, well, it went about 2 feet, so we got some thrust.
The good news is that less than 1% doubled the thrust. The bad news is that it was still more of a putter than a projectile.
No matter what kind of air to fuel ratio we're coming up with, this thing is not rocketing like the myth talks about.
I don't really want to stop here. I want to see a rocket go-kart. I mean, can't we make some modifications?
Let's try some stuff and see what happens.
I like it.
Yep, although the myth clearly states that the barrel was unmodified, to give this rocket a fighting chance, it's time to bend the rules. And bend number 1 is to transform the liquid fuel into that flammable fuel vapor.
We're gonna try a new technique of agitating the methanol using air. Now that's gonna do 2 things. It's gonna introduce more oxygen and it's gonna create more fumes. Hopefully that combination will give us more thrust.
But that's not the only modification the guys have in mind.
We're gonna add a nozzle. This should accelerate the escaping gases and give us more thrust.
With a built-in agitator and thrust-focusing nozzle, will this mini barrel go ballistic?
All right, here we go. Bubbling up at 5 PSI. Oh, yeah, hit it again. Yeah, that nozzle's great.
It's a thrust in the right direction for the barrel. The modifications triple the distance. The only problem is, after making it down the track in 3 blasts, it sets everything on fire.
It's still going.
Oh no!
Luckily, the safety officer is on hand to defuse the situation.
Whew. Well, that was exciting.
I mean, that thing could have kept going if the track hadn't caught on fire and everything got really dangerous.
Dangerous? Yes, but also a good start. So now the team can focus on making their mods safer and more efficient.
And we know that the nozzle improved our thrust, but as we go to full scale, the name of the game is optimization, using the energy that we have better. Now, my theory is that we're losing a lot of energy as the expanding gases have to turn this tight corner and then come out of the nozzle. So what I'm going to try is to make a funnel shape and relocate the bung hole to the center. That way the gases can expand smoothly, accelerate, and then come out the nozzle for even more thrust.
And while Grant is working on a more efficient nozzle, Tori's injecting some oomph into the fuel injection.
And this is what's going to be going on inside the barrel. Now, originally we had the fuel in the bottom of the barrel and we pumped air through it, creating vapors. But I thought it would be kind of cool if we introduced the fuel through an auto body spray gun. That way we're getting air and we're atomizing the methanol, making it much easier to ignite.
After optimizing the design, the barrel go-kart is rolled out once again.
Okay, this is longer nozzle with aerated fuel and cone. Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Amazingly, the combination of nozzle and aerated fuel propels the barrel 15 feet down the track.
We got some serious distance. I think it's time we take this full scale.
Yeah, I think that is the winning combo.
Oh yeah, we got the long nozzle, the aeration, the crazy cone shape. This is gonna be so cool when we get a large scale.
I think this is gonna work. How are we gonna stop it? That's the question.
After a lot of testing and several new improvements, we've gone from our simple barrel go-kart to this crazy thing here. We actually added a nozzle, a cone shape, and an aeration system for the fuel so that we could propel this little dude down the track 15 times the length of our go-kart. I think when we take this to full scale, we've got a really good chance at some really sick thrust.
Swinging. It's so easy, even a dog can do it.
Come on.
But that's not the case for our scurvy dogs.
I think I'm gonna throw up.
Uh-oh.
Which is why the Mythbusters have drafted some help into service.
Well, we've assembled a new crew to escape from the bone cage. They've got over 53 years of circus experience among them. They're lithe, they're limber, they're scurvy dogs, and they're ready to help us get swinging.
Earlier, Adam and Jamie were a few mates short of a 34-foot swing.
Come on up and try it out for size.
But now, with 4 trapeze professionals and 2 Mythbusters, they've got the 6-man crew of the film.
1, 2, 3.
Whoa. Wow.
And back. Go.
The question is, will the added mass mean they can swing to the cliff?
And back. Go. Well, it's swinging a little bit.
The pirate posse start with the movie method.
Back. Go.
You all right?
Yep. I got knee pads.
But that technique doesn't seem to have legs.
You okay?
Yep.
All right. Ready? One more time. Let's go back. What up?
All right, so the movie technique of running from side to side is totally not working here. First of all, we can't do it in unison, and we keep falling through the holes. So it's not very safe and not very effective. But we do know that in order to get this thing moving, we need to concentrate our efforts on changing the center of mass. Like a kid on a swing, we need to raise the center on the upswing and lower it on the downswing. That way, we might just be able to build the momentum we need to get the distance we want.
Yep, and to get to grips with that center of mass, they enlist a tie strap,
Push.
Yeah!
creating a coordinated rhythm either side of the center of gravity
Hey!
that seems to get them swinging.
Weirdest workout ever.
Bend your knees.
push.
But after over 40 minutes of the old heave-ho, they're nowhere near the cliff.
At this point, we've had some success, but eventually we lose the battle. The cable and the sphere seem to be absorbing all of our energy into flexing and twisting and bobbing around instead of letting us focus it in one specific direction for the swing. So the only thing that we can think of to do is to shorten the cable. Hopefully that'll get us where we want to go.
Shortening the cable makes the change to the center of gravity in comparison to the length larger and should amplify the swing. But will it be enough?
Right, shorter cable, see if she swings.
Push it, push it, push it.
Initially, it seems that building up power is easier.
Oh, it seems to be working.
Bend,
That's it, you scurvy dog, swing!
bend.
But after another hour of effort, it's clear that they are sustaining rather than gaining momentum.
Any higher?
We've got several hours of testing into this already, and we can't make this swing of this thing improve. These guys, their whole business is about feeling the balance of something. They're trapeze artists and making it swing. And it seems right now like 6 humans worth of weight is just not enough mass to make this thing start to swing in bigger and bigger arcs. Guys, that was a fantastic effort. I feel like we're just not gonna get that thing swinging.
So it's just not your average trapeze swing. With this big, heavy cage to try to move it, it's just not possible.
Yeah, and it's not going to get any lighter than that.
No, if we can't make it work with these guys, we can't make it work. I think it's safe to say that swinging a bone cage with 6 people from inside, it's busted.
It's busted.
Busted.
Busted, but there's still more pirate pandemonium to come. Everyone knows things are better when they're turbocharged.
3, 2,
But the Mythbusters' first ballistic barrel was anything but.
And nothing's happening.
However, after a few small-scale modifications, they've upped the thrust, and they're ready to take this myth full scale.
So now with our modifications in small scale, we've gotten our go-kart to rocket across the shop. But our design has evolved from a whoosh rocket into what's called a pulse jet. We know that a whoosh rocket ignites fuel in a chamber and the gases expand to create thrust. But after one big burst, it's pretty much over. The difference with the pulse jet is that the thrust is continuous. The escaping gases create an air of low pressure inside the chamber. Air is then sucked in to fill the gap, which starts the combustion again, so that the cycle of thrust will repeat as long as there's fuel and a source of ignition.
Indeed, but to supersize their pulse jet go-kart, there's a lot to do, starting with portable fuel injection.
Now for this to work, we need constant air entering the barrel. So, to make it portable, I'm gonna use a scuba tank. The air pressure coming out of here is 3,000 PSI. I need to get it down to 100 PSI so that it actually pump fuel through our spray gun. So what I'm gonna do is take this old regulator, put it to this regulator, and hopefully get it down to a safe enough pressure so we get the fuel injection into the barrel and this thing gets fired up. We're about to go diving into science. Come along for the journey. We have portable air.
With the fuel injection invention sorted, Carrie gets on a roll with the go-kart.
I'm designing the cart. Now I want this to roll really, really easily so that all the thrust can make it shoot down the runway. To do that, I'm going to use tires from a bicycle. I figure that has a low rolling resistance and it'll be a lot easier to just push it. Now I also want to make the cart really lightweight, so I'm going to use a minimal amount of material to try to create a cart that actually will have no problem turning into a rocket.
Carrie streamlined the design, but the main element of turning the go-kart rocket is the back end.
Now, given the success of the cone and the longer nozzle in small scale, we're gonna do exactly the same thing in large scale. Looks like a donut now, but soon it'll be a cone.
And while Grant gets bent out of shape, Tori creates the nozzle.
That's one big nozzle.
That is a cone. Luke, I am your father. Join me, and we can rule the universe together. Oh, hi.
I got a pipe for your hole.
With the nozzle and cone complete and the barrel on board, Carrie decides to add a little personality.
Now, this is what I wanted to put on the front of our barrel ride because it's awesome, but it's kind of heavy. And since weight matters, I'm just gonna make a mini version out of this dog skull. It's still gonna be badass. Demon dog.
Drum roll, please. Meet the rolling drum rocket, or the Mythbusters Pulse Jet Go-Kart.
Oh my God, that is insanity.
You know one thing we forgot?
What?
Brakes.
Where we're going, we don't need brakes.
At Alameda, the team has arrived lock, stock, and Pulse Jet barrel.
You know, after that first test, I really didn't think this had much promise, but after building this thing, I cannot wait to see what it does.
Oh, come on, this is Mythbusters. You knew how this was gonna end. It's either gonna explode or it's gonna zoom down the runway.
That's the plan, and the team is feeling optimistic.
After going through our small-scale tests, coming up with modifications to give us more thrust, and then finally getting to this stage where we have this crazy vehicle, I think we have a very good chance of replicating the results today.
Just like last time, the kart gets an uneasy rider.
Those eyes are creeping me out. I'm gonna make him look less scary.
Nice touch.
Oh, that's perfect, because it wasn't weird enough.
With the rider on board and the fuel fueled,
All right, let's light him up.
Tori takes care of their sophisticated ignition system, lighting the blowtorch and running for it.
Yeah!
Here we go. In
Fire
3,
it.
2, 1.
Yeah! Hey! We got some thrust! Look at that! Yeah! It's working!
Do you think it'll just keep adding speed and adding speed?
It's starting to pick up speed! Come on! Yes! All right, it's not the fastest vehicle in the world, but it's working.
That's not bad.
It's getting it down the runway.
The Pulse Jet is pulsing, but it's not the maximum thrust they'd hoped for.
I don't know about you, but I am traded in my car for this.
So they tweak the ignition and refuel for take 2.
Here we go. We're going. Yes. Hey,
Right away.
ignition.
A little blast. We got some movement.
Come on. Go, baby, go. Yeah.
Whoa. That was a nice little blast.
But it's not much better.
It's like a big black blur across the horizon.
After repeated attempts, the Mythbusters haven't replicated their small-scale success.
We are just not getting the thrust that we expected. If you look at the initial pulse, you'll see it's not like a wah, it's like a poof. Now, what we think is happening is that some things just don't scale up. This larger diameter nozzle and this cone, they're in scale with the small scale. But when we moved up to the bigger barrel, we didn't necessarily get a bigger explosion. And so we think some of that energy is being lost in this large diameter. It's allowing too much gas to escape. So what we need to do is go back to the shop, cut this off, and put a smaller diameter nozzle on it and see if that holds more gas in, and from that, we'll get more thrust.
Well, the Mythbusters have the technology, and quick as a flash,
Gorgeous.
Bang, just like that.
they have rebuilt it. Back at the runway, the question is, will the smaller nozzle on their Pulse Jet get them rocketing?
All right, fire in the hole. Here we go. 3, 2,
Stand by,
1.
and ignition.
Oh, we already got some movement.
All right.
A lot
That's
better
a
than
good
before. I
sign.
like it.
It's a good sign, and it is more thrust than previous tests. But only marginally.
That is hysterical.
Adorable.
It is adorable, really.
Look out, people! It's coming through.
And I was worried about how we were going to stop it.
And after the slowest fence collision on record, the kart is spent.
That
All right.
is funny.
Hilarious. It worked! We got our barrel vehicle to go down the runway. All right, it didn't go very fast and we didn't have a lot of thrust, but we got consistent combustion and we actually got some momentum. And the best part is, like all of our Mythbuster vehicles, we managed to crash into the fence.
We gave this the best possible chance of working. We added a fuel injection system, low rolling resistance tires, continuous triggering. And still, with all of that, we couldn't go very far or very fast. This one is well and truly busted.
Their pulse jet barrel may be busted, but as Carrie said earlier,
It's either gonna explode or it's gonna zoom down the runway.
there are only two ways this myth can truly end.
We've thoroughly tested the first part of the story, which is the swinging, and we came up totally busted. Push. You can't get 6 people in here and get them to move it. It's just not possible. But there's a second and a third part to this story, and that's where we're going now.
Yep, there's still the cling and climb. If they make like pirates and cheat the swing, can they cart the cage up the cliff? First, they'll need something to get a grip on.
Are you happy with it?
Yeah, we're done.
This crash mat rigging combo will stand in for the movie vines.
There it is, a goal fit for a pirate.
Topped off with a flag fit for capture, they're ready to get all hands on deck.
Right, lads, it's time to get swinging. Now, to be correct to the movie, we've re-extended our cables to be 80 feet long. The building behind me is our cliff. The netting is the vines. We're gonna get in our ball and start it swinging.
Inside the ball, it's still the same 6 savvy seamen, but more importantly this time, they're getting a lift from some land-loving muscle.
Holy crap.
There we go. And 3, 2, 1, go.
Rather than risk a full-speed cliff collision, the tug squad start the swing gently.
This is fun.
This is really fun. This is dangerous jungle gym antics for adults.
All right, maggots, let's swing towards that wall. 3, 2, 1, go!
Not quite.
Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and finding that sweet swing spot takes brains and brawn.
Drat!
Well, this swing testing was exactly what I wanted to see, because the fact that it's taking 4 strong guys with all of their strength to pull us back means that that's about what it's going to take to hold on to the rope when we get to the other side.
But with a little more heave-ho, the muscle manages to give them the swing they need.
We found God! Give yourself a round of applause. Wait, no, you can't.
All right, let it go on the count of 3, 2, 1, let go!
It's an aha moment.
A round of applause for the pirates.
To the crew's surprise, hanging on wasn't as difficult as expected.
So we were successful at swinging up to the wall and holding on, and it requires quite a bit of strength, but at least we're not having to support our own weight and the weight of the ball. We're simply restricting ourselves from swinging back. When we start to have to climb the wall, that's when we're going to have to pull all this weight up, and that's going to be a different story.
Personally, I don't think we're going to be able to do it.
Well, now to put it all together.
Right, crew, are you ready?
They'll swing, they'll cling, and attempt to capture the flag.
In 3, 2, 1, go!
Yes! I've grabbed! Now, try and climb!
With the crew clinging on harder than Star Trek extras, the climb commences. It's hand over hand as everyone pulls their weight.
We're going up! It's working!
And to both Mythbusters' surprise, the 1,500-pound cage ascends.
It's working! We're almost free, lads! I'm so excited I turned Scottish!
And the ball climbs first one story and then two.
Grab the flag! Oh!
After climbing a vertical 12 feet, victory is theirs.
In 3, 2, 1, let go! Wow! Nice work! How about that? We were totally able to climb. I love being wrong.
Indeed, because you can't argue with that success.
So I grabbed the vine I'm holding onto, which is a vertical rope, and I still am thinking at this point, there's no way in hell this is going to work. And then I start to be able to pull on some rope, and I notice everybody else is pulling too, and all of a sudden we're climbing 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 feet, and I look up, and the Jolly Roger here is within our grasp. One of my pirate crew grabs it, and it was a success.
Thank you.
A success, as many hands made light work.
The thing about moving up a wall with that many people is that there are at least a dozen arms and some legs involved in doing it. So it's kind of like a centipede. It's a very fluid movement. It's not easy, but it was surprisingly smooth.
And after all the efforts of their motley crew, where does that leave the myth?
Swinging a bone cage under your own power from inside of it.
Busted.
Catching onto the vines on the side of the ravine once you've swung over to it.
Plausible.
And climbing out of that ravine once you've caught onto those vines.
Surprisingly plausible.
Who would have thought?
Arr. Arr. You know, there's one last thing they did in the movie.
Well, clearly the idea of a barrel rocket go-kart is busted.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, it's never gonna work with methanol and an ignition source like the Myths. And secondly, even with all of our modifications, there's no way we could get it to go fast.
Yeah, there is just no way this is ever gonna happen. I mean, it's just too heavy and there's not enough thrust to push that weight.
Well, you know what? I just don't want to leave it here. So actually, I found an expert who uses the exact same materials: methanol, ignition source, and barrel. And he reckons he can get his rig up to 30 miles an hour and possibly even faster.
Cool.
What are we waiting for?
On a runway in San Joaquin County, the barrel go-kart myth is about to go ballistic.
We're at the New Jerusalem Airport runway. Why? Because we're Mythbusters, and we're not going to be satisfied with that 5-mile-an-hour run we saw with our barrel rocket, and that's being generous. We want to see something impressive. And that is where Bob Maddox comes in.
Absolutely, because if Bob's propulsive prowess can make a push bike jet-propelled, imagine what he can do with a barrel.
This thing is going to be insane.
Now, Bob is one of the few people in the world with the job title Professional Pulse Jet Builder. He's been designing and building these jets for over 20 years. He's taken our barrel rocket design and highly modified it. It may look the same on the outside, but inside it's completely different. And it's gonna be totally badass.
But just what exactly are these badass modifications?
Now, tell us what some of the differences are between ours and yours.
Well, the difference is mostly is we have a one-way reed valve up here in the front. When the explosion goes off, it makes all the gases go out the tail and won't go out the front.
The one-way valve focuses the thrust more efficiently, but the major change is that this pulse jet pulses at heart-stopping speed.
And that happens 70 or 80 times a second inside of this one, where yours was only once every 4 or 5 seconds or whatever.
Let's see if yours will match our whopping 5-mile-an-hour speed.
Bob's about to fire up the barrel rocket car for the first time. Now it's going to be tethered. We're going to turn it on just to make sure everything's working.
All right, Bob, fire it up. All right, let's see if we can tear up this runway.
It's an important tethered systems check. Because as the subtitles make clear, 70 pulses a second is a lot more powerful than expected.
It's a little bit louder, maybe a little more powerful than ours.
That's scary. That's a little scary.
Maybe we should have some safety precautions to keep this thing from flying off into who knows where.
Maybe we should cable it down.
Okay.
That thing is awesome. Now, we know Bob can build a pulse jet engine, but he has never attached it to a go-kart made out of a barrel and 4 bicycle wheels. So we have no idea what's gonna happen. I mean, this thing could explode. It could go flying out of control. So we have taken some extra safety precautions to make sure nothing bad happens. One, we have a steel cable that'll be running down the length of our runway so that our cart stays on track. We also added a kill switch, so if it does go out of control, we can shut it down whenever we want. At the end of the runway, we have K-rail set up, so that way if it does get out of control, it has a barrier to crash into. We'll be standing behind the blast shield while this all takes place. This is gonna be awesome, but most importantly, it's gonna be safe. 4,000 feet of cable. That should keep our cart in line.
It should, but the Pulse Jet go-kart won't be the only thing on the line. There's also their previous record.
We're going to have to surpass a record here of the last barrel rocket, 5 miles an hour. So for this to be impressive, I want to see highway speeds.
Now, Bob has been perfecting his engine for years. Now, we had 3 days to build ours, and we were able to get it to go 5 miles an hour. I'm hoping his can go faster than ours. I'm pretty sure it will. Or could just explode. Either way, it's gonna be cool.
Guys, seen better days?
And with the sinister Simulate tagging along again, will this finally replicate the results and send the go-kart rocketing?
Bob, it's the moment of truth.
Yep, I'm ready.
You guys ready to fire this thing up?
Let's go.
Okay, I'm gonna measure the speed, because I have a feeling he's flying.
All right.
The team retires to a safe distance, and it's over to Bob to initiate launch. And run for his life.
All right, this is Pulse Jet Barrel Rocket on steroids. Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Then the barrel is unleashed. And it thunders down the runway at speed.
50 miles an hour.
Dude, that was awesome. You know what? This myth is still busted. I mean, look what we had to resort to make this work.
A professional! Oh, Bob, that was awesome.
Nice work.
Finally, after a string of failures, the Mythbusters have gotten their happy ending. The cart jetted a mile down the runway at super speed.
So our barrel rocket, with Bob's help, got up to freeway speed in about 150 yards. Now, I'm certain that if we didn't have this guideline and if we had more space, it could have gone a lot faster, but 50 was all that we needed for this myth. The thing that you don't get, and you're probably not gonna get to experience this in full at home, is the sound this thing makes. It's like,
Finally, we got it to work. We got our barrel jet to go down the runway at 50 miles an hour. Okay, so we had to bring in an expert with a completely different jet engine, but still, we got a barrel with a guy on it going down the runway at 50 miles an hour. This is still busted, but it's pretty awesome.